several explosions were heard and plumes of smoke seen rising in the Venezuelan capital, Caracas, amid spiraling tensions with the United States. Video footage showed balls of fire and thick smoke coming from a structure next to a body of water in Caracas. Let's take a look. I'm coming to you, Shruti Dasgupta, Foreign Affairs expert. Shruti, now, how do you think this incident will affect relations between the US and key regional players like Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, especially regarding their stances on sovereignty and non-intervention?
Well, let's look at what is claimed while these attacks are being taken. Whether it is right now, the current one, whether US takes blame for it or not, is something to be seen. But most of us would believe if it is not directly US, it is US inspired and US armed, right? So this shows Brazil and the other nations to be wary of how they deal with Trump regime, because they are willing to break any and every international law to secure their own personal interests as far as USA is concerned or as far as Trump regime itself is concerned. Now, what will happen if Venezuela goes through an Iraq-style takeover, which is a shock, awe, and grab kind of a version of a regime change? If it goes through something like that, then there's going to be an influx of, refugee seekers. There's going to be instability in the region. People are going to be wary. Now, Venezuela is not on UN report for drugs as the primary drug cultivation region, and even it even says that less than 20% travels through that region. So the excuse of drugs, even when the evidence against it is so slim, is something that is being used against a nation to capture its resources. So now what will Brazil, Colombia, which have a large, Colombia, Peru specifically, they have a larger a role to play in the entire drugs game. When these nations are watching a very minor player and more likely a transit corridor rather than an actual cultivator or facilitator of drugs is going through to just because its resources are enticing enough and tempting enough for USA to act in military ways, they are going to go on high alert. One, I think they will try and find an appeasement format, probably run trade deals and other things so that their at least internal security is not as compromised as what Venezuela with a direct head-on action with USA suffered. Second, they're going to try and run into an arms race. You're going to find lots of defense contracts coming through from these nations while they try and fortify themselves in any and every means possible against a hostile takeover. So we are going to see the Southern Americas go through a very anxious state politically, militarily, economically, while they try and find the middle path without actually having their big brother USA breathing down their throat and trying to take over resources that they actually want, whether they need it or not. So the region of the South Americas is going to be in a lot of trouble, and every of these nations are going to be watching every step the Trump regime takes with respect to Venezuela with a fine-tooth comb and a microscope.